So I want to call up our first speaker, Tom Tornatore. Is that correct? Did I pronounce it correctly? Is that Tornatore?
Thomas Tornatore.
Tornatore. Give Thomas a round of applause. Thank you, Thomas.
My name's Thomas Tornatore. I run Fellowship Intelligence. We are an AI governance advisory and control layer advisory firm here in Las Vegas. We help companies use AI while still keeping control of it. So I'm the guy here to answer all those questions that you guys
And I'm going to be asking those questions so we can get some really focused answers. So basically, this topic is all about AI governance and safety. So who is using AI? Let me see a show of hands. Pretty much everybody. Oh, okay. Kind of, sort of, a little finger. Okay. All right. We're pretty much all exposed to it in some walk of life or another. Okay. The question is, if we ask ChatGPT a question, where does that information go? Or if we're using it in our business, how do we know that it's giving us the right answer? So we're going to ask Tom some very specific questions tonight about this topic. So just in general, what is AI safety and governance?
At its heart, I mean, people hear governance and a lot of times it kind of goes right over their head. You can think of it as safety, you can think of it as responsibility, but really what it means is that any decision that has consequence has a named owner, and there's a system in place to track how AI is behaving throughout your organization and make sure that when something goes wrong, we can figure out how and why.
So it's like a system on top of AI to make sure that it's basically checks and balances. For your AI system. Okay. So, and this is a question I have as well. Why does AI sound so confident even when it's wrong? Like you guys have, if you don't fact check AI, you should do, because 9 times out of 10, there's going to be something in the answer that gives you that is not correct. So why is that? And why does it sound so confident and sound like it's, it's right?
Well, people like to think of AI sometimes like an advanced calculator, I guess you could say, where you ask it a question and it gives you a determined answer, but it's a system that takes into account the most probable answer more likely. So it's not necessarily going out and finding you the most accurate, most up-to-date, most current information and then checking it to make sure that it's correct. It's giving you the most confident sounding answer based on how the model was trained. And if you don't know what you're looking for, you can get into trouble.
Okay, question, Carl.
Sorry. First, are we talking specifically about just LLMs, or are we talking about all models? Second thing, you're talking about it and the fact that when you train it, it weighs certain nodes, and you have the node balances in place, and if the statistics or the foundation change, then of course the model's not going to reflect it because you have to retrain it to begin with.
Right. Well, and each system behaves differently. Each system is weighted differently. Each system has been trained on different sets of information. So, and that information, of course, is all proprietary to the models. So, really what you have to take into account is that you have to be able to do the types of investigations that you need to find out how it's supposed to operate for your business. And sorry, Carl, you kind of threw me off.
Well,
with
no,
that
I mean,
question.
so
It really is. So it's not just LLMs. It's really anything that is making a decision for your business, whether it is a user interacting with an LLM, a chatbot, whether it is an agent doing calculations on your financials behind the scenes, whether it is your phone agent, your website agent answering questions for your customers. Really, each AI is going to behave differently depending on how it was trained. So you have to know what you're looking for each situation.
Well, in most cases, I mean, as a user of AI, most people aren't going to have a clue what's behind it. They're not going to understand that there are algorithms and language learning models and all that stuff that actually drive the decision making of the AI agent or whatever, right? So they're going to be using it oblivious to that. So, I mean, who is really responsible for making sure that this information that AI generates is accurate? It doesn't, and then when there are errors, or maybe when it makes a decision that causes harm, who's responsible for that?
Really, it's whoever put it into play. If it is something that your company is producing with AI and putting it out into the market, then your company is responsible for the AI. We saw with a case with Air Canada a couple years ago, their chatbot made an error with the user that resulted in a loss for the user. They tried to claim that their chatbot was a separate legal entity. The Canadian government came back and said, nope. You are responsible. Now, they got lucky. It was only about $812, I think, that they ended up owing in that one. But you are ultimately responsible for what the AI operating within your business does.
So are you saying that like every business that's using AI should have some sort of governance person or plan, or, I mean, what is the solution to this then?
Well, really, you need to govern the decisions that have consequence, the actions that have consequence within your business. Obviously, not every chat, not every action has consequence. When we talk about consequence, we're really looking at anything that can affect a person. So whether it be somebody's money, somebody's health, somebody's access, somebody's legal standing, their reputation, your company's reputation. Those are all decisions that need to be made eyes open and with intention, not left up to a click and you accept and move on with your day. If you're going to use AI within your business and it's going to be doing things that affect more than just your internal operations, you need to take some extra precautions.
Okay. What should never be handed entirely to AI?
Anything that is going to have a final decision on a person. We're seeing it right now with some of the lawsuits going on, with some of the staffing services, with some of the meeting recorders. When AI is, whether explicitly or implicitly making a decision that affects another person, that is when a human needs to not just be in the loop, but own the loop. State of Colorado's new law going into effect 2027 says that a named human owner who is trained and reviews the primary evidence and does not default to the system output has to review every decision with consequence.
Okay, should states be playing a bigger role in oversight?
I personally feel that the guardrails that need to be put around AI will actually help us to expand our innovation and have more adoption. I think right now there's too much uncertainty in the market. People are nervous. They don't know what to do with it. They're just being asked to use it. I think that if you give people the guardrails, it allows them to experiment within those, and that develops capability, and then capability earns expansion, and it just kind of grows with your company. But if you just give your employees AI and say, here's this great new tool for you to use, if they're not comfortable using it, if they don't know how to use it, if they're not sure what they can safely use it with, you're not going to get the adoption that you're seeing.
Has anybody in the room here had a situation where they've used AI and it's had a negative effect, or maybe they haven't checked it and the ultimate result has been put out there in the world and they realize after the fact? No? I mean, I have. I'll be honest with you. It's happened to me not in a major way, but it has. So basically everyone's using AI responsibly here, it seems. That's a good thing.
Well, they haven't realized they don't know.
Well, they don't know. But you're true. They haven't figured it out yet.
I've done some AI white papers for Prime Employer before I moved to Vegas. And like one of the things in the white papers, we were doing, using the random forest models, which I think is different than your models because you're talking, your models are models within the model type. So like random forest is a model type for specific purposes. So we were doing accuracy on the AI random forest model, and I was subdividing tasks with public data for used car sale price at auction, and I was able to, by subdividing, I was able to get from 80% accuracy to about 85–90% accuracy.
Okay, but Carlos, so you're proficient in this space. Most users aren't. Most people are just using a chatbot or a Claude and answering, writing a prompt or asking a question, and boof, there it goes. And if they're not smart enough to check the answer and validate the answer, okay, then they could get themselves in hot water.
Well, even more important than that is if you need to make sure the model you're using, which is even more than his, is the right model for the type of task you're doing.
Yeah.
And because they're not, like when you're looking at Claude and all these other things, they're not telling you which model they're using, so you can't make the right decision.
So how do you know the answer to that question? You don't, right? Exactly. Okay, can you tell me explain shadow AI? What is that? Have people heard of shadow AI?
That's a buzzword in AI governance. It basically means just AI that you don't know is operating within your company, whether that's your employees have adopted it on their own, and nobody's trying to hurt your company. They're just being told to use AI to do more in less time, and so they're trying. But we've seen attorneys dumping client contracts into open models to do something as simple as summarize for an email. So common sense isn't so common these days, and asking even well-trained employees to take all this into consideration when they're being asked to use a new tool to work faster, unfortunately, kind of oversteps where a lot of people.
Well, so that kind of segues well to the next question. So, what is the difference between free, paid, business, and enterprise accounts? So, who is using free AI here? Oh, okay. Okay, and who pays for a personal account? I do. Anyone using an enterprise account here? Okay. So. I have an idea what the differences are, but explain the differences between each of those levels of AI.
Yeah, well, usually if you're on a free account, that means that you're the product. Your data and your inputs and everything is usually preset to train a model or to be used for other purposes. So
hold that thought a second. So my understanding is that if you have a free version of chatbot or whatever it might be, okay, you could do limited things, but also the data that you input is used for chatbot as it continues to learn, right? So who's using free AI again? Okay, I would caution you to subscribe, FYI, right?
Well, and as a matter of fact, Google right now is they just had a small class action lawsuit filed against them by a group of independent recording artists who say that they train their Lyria music model based on YouTube content. And instead of denying the fact, Google's explanation is that, oh, well, when you agreed and signed up for YouTube back in 2005, you knew that we were going to use whatever you uploaded to train our AI models, right? That was explicit. That's what I mean by the click to accept is you don't really know what you're accepting. So we're going to see whether that explanation holds. The line that they're pointing to, I believe, is their customer service explanation. anything can be used for training and customer quality, I believe is what was in their contracts, and they're applying that to AI training now.
What about for paid AI use? What's the
Paid, you
difference?
usually get some more options. You can usually turn it off. Business grade accounts is usually where you start getting the option to have some other contracts available to you. Sometimes you do have to go all the way to an enterprise account in order to get access to a data processing agreement or a business associates agreement, where if you have medical or HIPAA regulated data, you need one of those.
Does anybody have a health tech company here? Health tech?
I work for a health tech.
Okay, are they using an enterprise version of AI? Okay, that's smart.
Do they have a BAA?
What?
Do they have a BAA?
I don't know.
Can you explain what a BAA is? For
So
people that don't know?
BAA is a business associates agreement that is between a medical company or somebody handling medical data and their service providers. But it was always required for, say, if you had Google or Microsoft 365, you should have had a BAA with them because they held your data off-site. However, now each AI product that is in your company, if you are a medical company, you should have a BAA with each one of those.
I think what my company does is they have their own internal, and Microsoft, because they're using Copilot, is not allowed to use it in training of their stuff. That's internal data that we can use to train our models, and they can't pull from it.
There are special agreements like that. However, most companies, unless they're developing technology internally, do not have those agreements with their vendors. Any office that you get that is subscribing to a frontier model, or a lot of times even if they're doing a custom implementation, it's being run by a frontier model on the back end, whether you realize it or not. So you need to have the proper agreements, and if you're building with AI, you need to have all of your third-party agreements in place. So.
There's a question, sorry.
If you are building with AI and you use something like trade secrets, is it just like releasing it to the public if you try to develop it with AI?
So the question was, if you're building with AI and you use trade secrets, are you then basically releasing those trade secrets into the public?
It depends on how your account's set up and what agreements you have in place.
So can you expand on that? Is that something that you're dealing with today, maybe, or is just a
Yeah,
question?
if you're building with Cursor or Anti-Gravity or Bubble and you're on a personal account and your settings are not set up to not train the model, I'm not sure if each one of those has a separate setting for that. But yeah, if you're building with one of the build programs that are out there, a lot of times they are training.
They are, so they're taking that image.
Yep.
I mean, but in the real world, so people don't panic.
Right, yeah.
It's not that dissimilar than when you hire developers to build something for you, and then they stop working for you and they walk out of your door. They still walk out of the door knowing what they know. Now, there are laws and things you can have so they can't specifically do what you do, but knowledge, stopping knowledge and keeping it to yourself, that's harder to do than people might think. It might not even be worth, but so much limited effort.
Right, and by all means, I'm not saying not to use AI. I'm not an anti-AI guy at all. But if you're going to be developing a program to bring to market, just make sure that you are set up correctly. Like he said, it's the same as if a developer left. The only thing is you could sue a developer if they took your trade secrets. You can't sue an AI model.
It goes back to the question before, who's responsible for the data that's put out, or the ultimate decision? And essentially it's got to be the business owner or the business itself. Jonathan?
So for like the new users or people that are using the free account, is there a prompt or a setting that you can give context to that like maybe flags when you do expose a sensitive information, that it stops and gives you the steps to like rotate the key or rotate the information?
Great question, Jonathan.
If you're building, If you're on a personal account, there are some configurations that you can do to make sure that it will flag if you put an API key or if you put a secret into the system. However, I wouldn't rely on it.
No, it probably won't be the end all be all, but just, any kind of, barrier you can put between yourself and what is naturally like it's taking your information, so how do you limit? You basically have to look at AI as a confident sounding stranger online, basically. If you're comfortable giving your personal private company information to that stranger and not knowing if you're gonna get it back, that's fine, but really what you should do is just take those extra steps, make sure that you're set up correctly, make sure that if AI is making consequential decisions or having an effect on your operations that you need to maintain and manage and have somebody assigned to, that you have that in place before you go full bore into AI.
I think, did that answer your question, Jonathan?
I was just teeing up.
Okay, no. So, I mean, from what Thomas has been speaking about here today, people that are using AI extensively, or do you feel confident that you're using it responsibly? Show of hands. Okay. And who's maybe concerned that maybe they have to do more to make sure that they're using it safely? Gary? Yeah. Honestly, I think to your point, it's somewhat of an unknown, right? So having a paid account is one step. Making sure the settings are correct is another step. I think.
And then making sure, that you have those extra agreements, and because with the business and enterprise accounts, they become available to you, but you actually have to execute the proper ones for your organization.
And what do those agreements give you? What kind of protections?
It depends on the company. A lot of times it has domestic data rights so that your data is not stored overseas. It has training turned off. It has a lot of time, with certain programs, your data never leaves your internal network. So there are different settings with different vendors, and that's part of the process, is making sure that the vendors you're selecting can be compliant with your business type and with what you're trying to do.
It reminds me a little bit of when cloud was new and people were concerned about letting their data sit in the cloud and who has access to it and is it secure, et cetera, et cetera. But I think then there were more defined agreements in place and more defined controls with people like AWS, et cetera, who were taking that data. But, the Claudes and ChatGPTs of this world don't really make you as aware about all of these other things that you can do to protect yourself, right? So basically, if there was like 3 takeaways from you as an AI governance and safety expert that you could give to the people in the room that maybe they don't think they should be doing, but they should be doing, what would they be?
Verify your outputs, really. AI is, I think the best estimates right now are it's correct 85% and wrong 15%. So if you are unsure of what that 15% is, that's where you're going to get yourself into trouble. And that is where, that gray area that your company can have exposure. So you need to make sure that that 15% is accounted for appropriately.
Anything else?
Definitely make sure that you have the appropriate account type for the work that you're doing. And don't give away your own thinking to AI. Don't become copy-paste. Don't outsource your style, your own opinion to AI. I see a lot of people online writing these beautiful articles and they make no sense because nobody's actually reading what they're putting out there. Or I'm having conversations with somebody's chatbot. We're all still people here, folks. Let's keep communicating with each other and not just completely give away everything that we say and do to AI.
Do you do audits?
Huh?
Do you do audits?
We do audit preparation.
Just explain what that is.
I'm sorry. We do not come in and do the official audits. We work with a certifying authority that can come in and do the official audits. We will help you get you ready for those and make sure that you are compliant with whatever standards you are trying to hold yourself to. Right now, there are not any national standards for AI governance in this country. So really, right now, it's pick your poison, and we'll make sure that you kind of stay up to date as things evolve.
Gary?
Any difference between private versus public?
I'm sorry, what?
Any difference in governance between private and publicly traded companies?
It really depends on what the company's doing. If you have a publicly traded bank that is using AI to assist in lending decisions, that is using AI to assist their customers on their websites, that is using AI to make hiring and firing decisions on their employees, that definitely needs a governance evaluation. Public company that is using AI to build a better light bulb, they may need it for their IP protection, but if they're just talking to their chatbot and getting the information and then testing it in the real world, that's not really something that you need to govern every step of the way. So really it all depends on the situation and especially if there's any regulated data. So legal, medical, finance, staffing and HR, security firms now we're seeing a lot. We're still doing a lot of work with nonprofits because of a lot of them deal with people in crisis, and so that information is usually private and protected, and so.
So that segues me to the last part that I want to talk about. Who here has a is it mid-school and above? A child that's mid-school age or above? Show your hands. Okay. So Thomas has a program called Still in Charge. So we'll talk about Still in Charge.
Yeah, we have our Still in Charge program. So it's a free program that we provide to schools and students. We try not to put anything into kids' hands directly because too much of AI comes from an app store or from social media. So we want to make sure that this program at least is coming to them straight from their schools, straight from their parents. It's not software, there's nothing to download. All that it is some resources to teach your kids how to use AI responsibly, not give away their thinking, protect their privacy, verify their outputs, and obey the rules that they have to follow at school and at work.
So how can people find out about that program?
They can go to stillincharge.org. For the parent and student resources, they are at student.fellowshipintelligence.com.
Okay, and obviously you can speak to Thomas after. All right, we wanted to try something a little different today. We want you all sat at tables, hopefully with people that you don't know or do know, but that you can have a conversation with. We wanted to ask you a question about your AI usage. Based on what Thomas has said, collectively on your table, we'd like the table to come up with one thing that you maybe haven't been doing that you should have been doing. And, this is something you can talk to, not, publicly out loud, but, amongst each other. And then in a couple of minutes, I'm going to come back and I'm going to ask somebody from the table to tell us what that thing is. Does that make sense? Do you want to?
Yeah, I guess, yeah. If anything that I said rang a bell for you and there's something that you think you're going to change in your operating procedures when it comes to your AI use, let me know.
And we're going to be giving away a couple of prizes. So take a couple of minutes, speak amongst yourselves, okay? I'm going to go grab the prizes, and when I'll come back and we're going to see what some of the answers are from the tables, okay? So please communicate, talk amongst the people at your tables, ask them what they've been doing. All right, so thank you so much. I appreciate you doing that. The whole idea was to get you guys talking about something that we're all interested in, okay? So I'm going to go around the room real quick. Char's table over there, first, front left. Mark, Did you guys come up with anything in particular that you thought maybe you could do better with AI? So what was that?
Still working.
Still working. Okay. Does anybody have an answer to that question? Does anyone? Okay.
Well, right now I'm doing a data migration from Access databases to SQL Server. The problem is people who developed the initial databases over 10 years ago did not involve normalization, and so there's a whole bunch of things that are going to have to be fixed if you come up with a good data model. I could use AI, but I'm not. I'm wanting to retain control to make sure we get all the bugs fixed. Because like you said, you're the one who owns it. I want to make sure I own it. I want to make sure it's done right, and I don't want to be disclosing data structures and data infrastructure publicly. They can do it. Yes, I could reach out to other people and use the enterprise data model, which is a lot secure of the system, even though I'm not aware of the security of the system. And that's one of the main reasons why we finally, thank the Lord, got the SQL Server thing that we're moving everything to, because they don't want the risk of access.
Okay.
That is one area definitely could be improved upon, because it could catch my mistakes, because I'm sure I will make them.
Well, it goes back to the governance, that oversight that.
And he's talking about some of this stuff with the laws. The question I would have for you too is, how are they regulating such that it only affects AI and doesn't affect something like an ATS?
ATS?
Because,
So ATS, you talk about an applicant tracking system? Yeah. So ATS, that's kind of nice. So they are leveraging AI these days to make some decisions. For example, when a candidate submits a resume, they go into an ATS and AI is doing the initial screening, right? But always there's going to be human interaction at some point, right? There should be. Well, there should be. And that's one of those things that we're saying should never be just left completely to AI.
90% of the applicants will be
It's true. Guess what? I'm a headhunter. I do executive search. We tell people don't rely on AI. It's all about relationships and getting to know the people. That's what it's, so it's a decision in your business, right? You have to make that decision. Do you want to miss out on the best candidates because your ATS is AI driven and is using, looking for, doing a keyword search basically, right? So, I mean, there's not a right answer to the question. It's really about your own business and how you operate your business and whether or not you care about understanding who a person really is and their culture. I always think in that particular regard, knowing somebody and building a relationship and having a conversation is always going to be AI, right? So, yeah. Earl, did your table come up with anything?
So I'll share something that definitely parallels the message of today that is non-technical.
Okay.
So when we build AI products and we do AI solutions, but in our customer engagement, we have now built the practice to start the conversation, including AI governance in the conversation. Just right in the beginning. If we're going to touch their data at all, or we're going to get into their operating systems at all, we say, what do you have in place? Where are you with governance? And if they're looking at us with deers in the headlights, then we know that they either need to bring somebody in or we need to let them know that, hey, what we do for you, we will do under the guidance of an AI governance advisor, or you need to bring in a government advisor in the beginning. The challenge is the regulations are being written at the same time people are writing AI code.
Right.
So they're not going to be in there.
Not going to be aligned. Yeah.
You're not compliant. Don't freak out.
Yeah.
Because the laws are being written as you're running down the road. But
Yeah.
you're going to have to bring them together at some point.
You have a question or comment?
So we did come up with a to your point, your question on both of us had a similar thing around copyright, that you go to AI with your original music and have it help shape it better, or if you go to it with your own story and you have it write a novel with your story that you've had for years and you just want to clean it up and you're ready to be printed, or your movie, where it comes to the copyright at that.
There's some new things coming out. They just released, I believe, a new creator bill that I haven't had a chance to read yet. I just saw it come out yesterday or the day before. There is a special bill coming out around the creation of content with AI. Nothing is settled yet. They're debating about whether when it comes to things like books and films, they're arguing over whether it's a percentage, whether it's a demonstrated practice of original idea plus iteration plus review. So they're still arguing over that, figuring that out. I have been told by my attorneys that if I'm going to use any AI-generated imagery, they would prefer that I save my chat histories from when I created it, if I created it using a chatbot. So, and again, if you're in Colorado, you're facing one set of rules. If you're in Connecticut, there's a new set of rules. Texas, California, Illinois.
Yeah, I mean, I think, what did you do before to protect your copyright? You would, I mean, for an original work, you would go to the Writers Guild, for example, and you'd file it with the Writers Guild. I mean, you have to take those steps still, I think, right? Until this whole landscape gets properly regulated. Jonathan?
I'll finish your thought.
No, I'm done. I'm good. That was it.
And
One second, Carl.
We were talking about no matter what company or industry, and I'll tee Thomas up for another kind of question here on this, but if you have a terms and conditions, you have a privacy policy, start with a V1 of an AI policy for your business.
Right. Kind of what Earl was saying.
Yeah. What would be the fundamental things that anybody, no matter what their business is, would include in a base level 1 AI policy?
The big thing is find out what you have already. We found that it's usually over 60% more than what you think it is. You just don't realize where AI is touching your business. You really need governance when you have regulated data or decisions that affect people. If you're not using AI to have a major impact on either of those two things, as far as right now, there aren't that many regulations. A lot of people don't realize, though, that there are AI components to the current regulations that they are under. So things like HIPAA, things like GDPR, things like COPPA, FERPA regulations when you're dealing with kids. So yeah.
So I mean, this is a topic we could talk about all night, but we have other speakers. So, okay, one more question. Or comments, or answer.
Oh, the table.
Yes, one
the
more.
question you were asking us what we could do better.
What do you think you haven't been doing? What haven't you been doing that you should be doing?
The one thing I learned about AI is it's a tool, and like my car, it's got tuned after 100,000 miles. I thought a car could just get in, drive it, it goes, but no, it has to be tuned. The tires I need it rotated. And same thing with AI, you need to tune it before you jump into it. If you just jump into it and start chatting, it's not tuned. It's not calibrated to you. You literally have to tell it, here's what you're going to be, here's the habit you're going to wear, here's the language you're going to speak, here's how you're going to speak it. If you don't do that, it's a disservice to you.
Yeah, so training the GPTs basically and creating,
so you can literally type it there, or you can put it as a default, but that has to be set up.
Right.
You or
So don't just jump in basically with both feet. Make sure you tell AI who you are, what you do, and what you're trying to
so you could
accomplish.
Do the very smallest thing, like our table was like, well, we want to do the minimum, and others like, well, we want to do the maximum. So you could literally just say, oh, just do simple math, or you could do a research on the economy. Two different gradings, basically. But AI is set up to do that. So you have to know that.
Right. Appreciate that, Eric. Anyone else want to make a quick comment? Carl, I'll have to let someone else. Do you had your hand up? You, yes.
Well, yeah, I was just going to comment on jumping in.
Right.
With ChatGPT and some of the AI stuff, if you don't know, you have to jump in.
Yeah.
And I mean, you do have to start looking at the issues developing around governance. But, part of what we end up having to do as entrepreneurs and new people in any particular type of operation or technology, you got to get in. And so getting in is going to, allow you to get your feet wet. Then, of course, you have to look at the fact that, of course, ChatGPT or any of those, they're going to give you a certain level of truth, and then there's going to be that other stuff.
The 15% that
Right.
Thomas was talking about.
You got to figure it out.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
All right, so,
The only difference is that you wouldn't bring an employee into your business without interviewing them first, and a lot of people are just choosing their AI system and jumping right into it, and like I said, they lose the common sense. You see lawyers and financial professionals and doctors and people who know their own regulations. They know what they're required to do. They just don't realize the exposure that they have when they start interacting with these systems that can be direct public gateways to information at times. So,
all right. Thomas, I'm going to give these to you. Thank you. Let you determine and go and hand them out, all right? Guys, we could do this all night, but we have other speakers. Thank you so much. I mean.